always felt about directing. I'd grown up in front of the TV, and unlike medicine or law, with the exception of the Perry Mason show, it wasn't something that was in any way, I had no visual form of reference, but I'd grown up looking at things, I'd read some books, I got really curious, and in terms of TV Party, it was really just point, you know, and zoom in, zoom out, and over here. And yes, I guess I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of great film, actually, which, lucky for that. So I had things that I'd seen in movies that I remembered. I'd get a chance to pull certain things off, learning about, you know, the line of access and getting coverage in films, and be reading and picking the brains of any friend that I had that did anything. Is how I did it.
Yes.
What rap artists do you respect today?
Question is, what rap artists do you respect today?
That's a good question. I respect anybody that's trying to do something different, trying to be original. You know, my preference is lyrical flavor, wordplay. So I would say off the top, young kid Kendrick Lamar out of the West Coast, just really brilliant. You know, you can tell that he studies, that he's listened to a lot of good stuff. I have a 16, just turned 17-year-old daughter who hips me to everything from Odd Future and Tyler, the Creator, to this kid, Joey Badass, who's got some lyrical flavor. So, you know, anybody that's really playing with words in an interesting way, I like.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Gina.
Oh, Gene.
What would
Make
you
the sound now.
What would you like in TV parties impact? Just maybe set the scene a little bit, because it's when cable first came in, but also the first cable access and the influence that Glenn had even in David Letterman forming his show. And so I mean, just that, what would you like in that TV now that can take the question a little further? Really,
What is the contemporary equivalent of
just
TV
for
party
set the
and
scene.
influence? On the scene of
the scene of
Yeah.
that time and
Wow.
how it felt for somebody to suddenly see you on TV and people have access to TV for the
Yeah.
first time, the layperson.
Right. Well, you know, I'm still living in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy at that time, so Brooklyn was not wired. So this whole cable thing was a real interesting novelty. You'd hear about it. You know, they were playing movies unedited and stuff like that. It was really, really like a sensational thing. So Glenn, who had some friends that had public access shows, the idea that cable networks had to give a few channels up for regular people to come and do their thing was something that he knew about. And then I guess the thing that Glenn was really astute about aesthetically was, you know, independent film, and also that Andy Warhol had made all these films with this, you know, one camera, just kind of like a anything goes kind of vibe, as opposed to the more formal way of filmmaking, which was understood that that is what was going to happen, and that's what happened. It was interesting because until that documentary, which I showed, which that little clip came from, not having cable, having only seen a few shows, I saw more of TV Party when I saw that documentary than I had actually seen myself, because once again, I wasn't a cable user at the time. So, but yeah, later we heard that when David Letterman started, David Letterman had publicly said TV Party was an influence on him, and so that was pretty incredible. I don't know what compares to that now. There's another thing that we used to do on that show was it'd light up and smoke joints in the studio in every show. Like, you know, not that anybody in the TV would know, but it was definitely real pot. Smoke. I mean, every band that was impactful on the new wave scene, including Glenn would have people like Nile Rodgers, like George Clinton, Funkadelic, David Bowie, people like that came to visit TV Party, you know, The Clash, and all kind of other downtown artists, filmmaker types would be regular guests on Glenn Brown's TV Party, so it was cool.
yes.
As a filmmaker and an artist, you're influenced by what you've done. So, who you influenced by?
The question is, as a filmmaker and an artist, who are you influenced by today?
Well, I'm still, that's a good friend of mine back there. I was going to mention you, Black, I'm sorry. That's my man, Brian LeVar. When I was doing the Road to the Riches video, it was his first film job as a PA, and I didn't drive then, and he drove me home. We became tight. He's from the hood like me, from Bushwick. And then later, he would work his way up to every job in the film game. And I was wishing I had the video because I think that was your first video that I hooked up. So when I'm setting up to do Nas's One Love, Nas had another song that he wanted to do a remix of. What was that video, Black? The World Is Yours. So I said, man, let's do this. We'll cast this person, the guy that you see running and getting busted in the beginning of the Nas video, Black, just going to call him his nickname, Black, Brian LeVar, used this same character, same outfit. So at the end of the video he did for The World Is Yours, that kid breaks out of the room, something's going on, and he runs away. So that the ideal scenario, which did happen when the box, music television, you control, you call up and order videos, and we were like, man, people see that there's a part 1 and 2. So if you watch his video, it ended with this kid running, and then as One Love starts, that kid runs into the projects and gets busted. So that was a cool thing. But you know, I like a lot of great filmmakers, Black, you know, man, it's a long, long list of names, some obscure, some widely known, you know, everybody from Scorsese to Louis Buñuel, you know what I'm saying, Billy Wilder, you know, I mean, it's a whole bunch of people that have made films that have had an impact on me, you know, foreign countries, Russian directors, all kind of nerdy film stuff that drives me.
The question is, what's your philosophy on set? How do you approach the actors and people in the scene?
Well, the song oftentimes is the script, especially when it's a tight narrative, like some of the better videos that I felt I've gotten a chance to do. So the philosophy was first getting my shots locked in and down, and hopefully getting a good cast. Oftentimes, there were many, many stories of me having to pull real people off the street, like the young kid that I used in the One Love video, because you know, casting sessions on the video tip, you know, people would show up and they just weren't up to par. So just really working pre-production, of course, important, trying to get it all mapped out, visualizing your brain. Not a lot of time to shoot a lot of music videos back in that time. Most videos would be shot in a day and a half, 2 days max. So it's just a run and gun, very aggressive, a low shooting ratio. So you just have to have a good crew and just go hard, baby, and hopefully you get what you're supposed to have.
You have such a diverse body of work. Of all the things that you've done, who do you think has had the most lasting impact that you look at in the pop today?
The question was, if you're diverse body of work, who do you feel is your most lasting impact on the work you've done?
That's a good question. Well, you know, it all depends. Well, being that I was, I mean, I made some great paintings, I feel. I made some great music videos, but most people who got access to and was really pivotal to this day. People still stop me, blast me on Twitter, whatever, like about Yo MTV Raps. And what I realized was important about that, it wasn't really me, it was the music and the culture at that time. So fresh, so new, great records. When you listen back to the countless hundreds, tens of thousands of songs that were recorded, let's say from late 80s into the 90s, it was so much great music. And fortunately, in that period, most of the most impactful artists that carved out the molds made their TV debut on the show with me. So when people think back about Tupac, NWA, Snoop, like a long list of artists, the first time they saw them and heard them was on Young TV Raps with me. So although I was just not really, that wasn't like so much a creative thing, I would have impact as to who we would interview and where we would shoot the show. So it was just a great thing that happened in that. It was only 6-7 years Young TV Raps ran, but when I look back, it was impactful because of those artists. So
how many questions do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 3. Okay, so we'll try and get them all in. 1.
You didn't talk a lot about Sean's Beat, your foray into music.
talk about it. Keep everybody here for 2 days.
Can you talk a little about that, a little bit about how that came about and why you put the record again, and just sort of, you know, story behind that.
Sir behind
Sean's Beat.
Well, I made a rap record, a couple. Wasn't trying to be a rapper, but coming up in Brooklyn in the the time I came up with, almost everybody had a few rhymes and would love to get on that mic when that DJ set up at the block party, at the jam. So I had a few rhymes, so boom. Met a guy on the downtown scene that had an idea about making a record. The idea for the record was to rap in French. He wrote the rap. I learned it phonetically, how to say this rap. At the end of the French rap, I had a few minutes, so the rap wasn't long enough, so I spit some of my lyrics in English. And then at the end, they did this sound effect where they took something I said during the recording process. After finishing the take, I just said, this stuff is really fresh. And at the end, the engineers attached that to the end of the song, ran it through like a vocoder till it had this real digitized effect. And it kind of altered my voice. And it said, this stuff is really fresh. What happened was that made that record special, if you will, or how to put it, is DST, who made a record with Herbie Hancock called Rocket, used that record to scratch. And so when he does that, numerous other artists, DJs, was like, that's the sound that I want to scratch with. So that became a ubiquitous sound used on many, many, many records. It's almost just synonymous with the idea of scratching when you hear that record. So it's something that I was always really pleased that almost every DJ that was down with hip hop knew who I was. This is before MTV Raps, because they had that record and they would scratch that so profusely. DJs had actually showed me copies of the record where they had scratched through the record completely, so light was shining through that piece of the record, which was like, just, you can't even ask for something like that to happen. I want to make a record that every DJ is going to want to scratch for like 30 years. So, go figure. Blessing.
The question is there a solution to what you see, what she sees, and do you see a mainstream template for music videos?
That mainstream template, I remember towards the late 90s going into early 2000s when the budgets really ballooned. And I think up until the internet became the main point to see videos, a lot of videos looked like they were one long continuous video. The same kind of chicks dancing around, the same party vibe. It all began to get very stale and predictable. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I don't completely understand why, but I mean, some of it was driven by the companies. There's a lot of, I guess one of the things I learned as a kid, there's a lot of sheep and very few shepherds, so people just think that's what's popping. But, you know, the realm and the time that I came up in and what inspired me and my peers was to be different. Like, yeah, we were going to stay within certain guidelines, but we was going to take it here, or we were going to go here, and we were going to try to do things different, which I'm sure it happens. It's just that there are not two main filters, MTV, BET, where you see all the content. So scattered among the 100 million or so clips on YouTube, Vivo, whatever it is, I'm sure there's a lot of interesting things going on. It's just, what do you lock into? And what do you find? And once again, I think the main thing is, I know there's interesting things going on because so many people now have the means of production. Like, you can shoot a decent clip with an iPhone, actually, which I've seen, or the Canon 5 and 7D, which people are rushing to get. So it's just, you have to filter through, like I said, so many people out in the space. You just got to cut to find out what the flavor is.
And by the way, have you been upstairs? Second and third floor in this building, museum, we have everybody should know there's this existing exhibition upstairs that is fantastic. And so on that question, you can really see that template change over time. It's the whole evolution of music video.
Yeah, really nice exhibit.
That's sponsored by these folks right here. So please go upstairs and take a look at it. Come back tomorrow. And it's going to take you some time. It's not a quickie. It's like a couple of hours, I would say. You know, to really look at it. So please come back tomorrow. And by the way, there's a movie playing at 5 o'clock, I'm showing, called kick for all your martial art kids. So you get 2 for 1. You come back tomorrow. Who is the last person? There you go. You're the man.
This is something I've always been curious about. The OMTV Raps interview with Wu-Tang Clan and the mystery of chess boxing.
Yeah.
Ghostface Killer's wearing a mask throughout the whole interview. I've always wondered why he wanted to wear a mask.
Well, that's a good question.
Ghostface Killer wearing a mask throughout this whole interview.
That's funny. I was, you know, by the way, like Warrington said in the beginning, a lot of these clips came from YouTube because, I mean, some of these things I have not put into the current modern format of DVD. And a lot of these things were available on YouTube. And in looking through the MTV Raps moments available, that is a memorable show. It was the, once again, Wu-Tang Clan's debut. And it's interesting because in looking back, after, you know, knowing who everybody is, yes, I realized that that's Ghostface. And that was just what they were on. I mean, they were on some, we gonna do this real different, you know what I'm saying? ODB's interview was so incredible because literally when I was coming up in Bed-Stuy, at one point in that interview, if you go home, you watch the MTV Raps clip of me interviewing them, and ODB just takes the mic and he's like, look man, I was real poor coming up where I had to keep the milk and the cheese on the ledge because they didn't have no refrigerator. Now, I literally, as a young kid, knew a family that was like that, and they literally had the you know, the products to keep cold on the ledge in the wintertime. And when he went there, it was like, oh my God, I almost lost it, but I was able to maintain and we were able to capture, you know, to keep that segment, because I was almost about to say, wait, I can't believe we went there. But it was, that's how real they were. They were all about bringing it in that manner. When you look at the other members of the Wu-Tang, they were looking like they was ready to mug me in the video. Just like had that real, like, ready to be mad right now, and it was just amazing. I became really great friends with all of them later. RZA, of course, a genius, and the whole crew. But yeah, Ghostface wore an ill mask that whole, his debut on TV. I don't know, it was crazy. Kind of like Daft Punk. People covered all the time. I don't know.
And I'm very pleased to say that RZA was here in this room, I guess it was a couple of months ago, during this movie called Man with the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
So how many people here for the first time? Okay, well, this is the spot. We need to come out on a regular basis. Besides this man here, we have RZA, we have Michael J. White, we have this ongoing program. So I'm hoping that you become part of the Museum of English family. And they've been closed.
Yes.
Now, I've known this brother for a long time. I had no idea, because music videos don't have credits, that you did many of these videos, and they're my favorite videos. So I want to say in front of everybody, you are extraordinary. I think this presentation keep on the road, man, because it gives us an introduction to the evolution of the forum. And again, you're the first person, you're a witness.
Yeah, I want to say what's up to my man, DJ Wiz is in the house.
DJ Wiz!
And I'm working on my memoir, and Wiz is one of the most incredible people who DJs with visual images. And I oftentimes thought, like, when I get on a serious lecture circuit, I like to go with him because he can cut, scratch, mix the visuals along with the flavor and the flow to work out a program and do it with him, because he, you know, in and out of it so nicely. In fact, I had hit him up when he told me he was coming because I couldn't find a copy of One Love, my Nas video. Of course, he had his archives. His video crates are deep.
And also, Wiz has done a project that I am involved with, and that now I'm cheerleading for it. And you kind of touched on the beginning about the evolution of this musical form.
Yes.
And we had a screening here at the museum.
They just got Chuck D to add voiceover to it,
It's
my
called
man.
Founding Fathers. We showed it here at the museum,
Yeah.
and it was July or June. It was 100 degrees. He was packed. We went outside for another hour and stood there. It was the most, in my humble opinion, one of the most extraordinary documentaries about hip-hop in the broadest sense, music. Now, here's the good news. It's shown again on the 30th of this month in Schaumburg. So make a note, called Founding Fathers. It's if you're of a certain generation, which I am, it's like, yes, I was there, that was me. So you really should see this movie. It's on July, this 30th this month, Deshaun Bird.